Hey Booktube, welcome back. I'm Winx, and the ink I'm talking about today is both a tag video. I'm doing the try a chapter tag, as well as a bit of an update because I didn't end up doing my Wednesday video or my Friday video last week, and my family came in to visit for a few days and just cool things have been happening, so I figured an update was due. But I will start off with the try a chapter tag. So I ended up picking out 7 books to read for this, and I mentioned them all in the last Friday Reads video that I did, and I actually read them all the weekend before last. I actually ended up being very pulled in by all of the first chapters. None of them were a miss for me. I just really wanted to continue on with every single one that I tried. So this ended up being a really fun way to spend my reading time over the weekend when I read these, but it really didn't help me too much with narrowing down what to read for my TBR shelf because I still want to read every single one of them like immediately, so whatever. Not the worst problem to have. The first book I tried was The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This book wasn't exactly broken up into chapters, it's more like a log, and the main character is going on this journey through space, hence the title. But the tone of the book and the voice of the character really caught my interest. It just sounds really fun, the world is interesting. It's not so much like deep space pioneering, but just traveling long distance. And I'm really curious to see that built up more and to learn more about the world that this is set in and what the main character is traveling off to do. So I definitely plan on continuing that one soon. The other Kindle book I read was a Juliet Marillier pick, and that was Daughter of the Forest. I also really love this one. This is a fantasy novel. It seems like there are fairies involved. This was actually the longest first chapter. It was like 35 pages, I think, so I'm a pretty good chunk of the way through this book after having read this first chapter, but I really enjoy the writing style. I'm interested in the character and all of her siblings and family and the world, and I want to learn more about the magic, and yeah, definitely pulled into this one. Then on to the physical books that I tried. There was The Diamond Age by Neal Stephenson. The only other Neal Stephenson book that I've read is Snow Crash, but it's actually one of my favorite sci-fi novels, so I was really excited to try this one, and it instantly felt like Neal Stephenson in this first chapter. The writing style and the phrasing, it's just very reminiscent of Snow Crash to me, and I'm definitely enjoying it. The character that the first chapter was following, I'm not sure if it's completely in this character's voice throughout the whole book, but for this chapter it was, and doesn't seem like the kind of person that I would want to hang out with, but I definitely enjoyed just getting a glimpse into the world and the society and the kinds of things that this character is getting up to, and I really want to continue on. I also tried The Just City by Jo Walton, which is a sci-fi book, but also involving a lot of Greek mythology. The first chapter is from the voice of Apollo, who is running around to his various siblings trying to figure something out, and he discovers through Athena that there are some humans that are trying to create Plato's Republic, and she is convincing him to go and investigate this and do some traveling through time and stuff. It's setting up for a really interesting read, and I'm really excited to continue on with this one. I was really curious to try it because I've only read one other Jo Walton book, which was Among Others, and that was a magical realism kind of book that involved fairies and a character who was really into SFF books. This is a very different type of book. Again, Greek goddesses and gods and robots and time travel. And I have another book on my shelf by Jo Walton that is like a fantasy of manners involving dragons. So she writes about such varied topics that I just was really curious to try this, and I loved Among Others, so I was hoping that I would love this one just as much, and so far I do. I really want to continue on with this one. I think I might have to put this one on my July or August TBR. We will see. I also tried The Ninth Life by Clea Simon, and this is one that I've been just really excited about in general because I heard about this one through the author herself, who contacted me because she had talked to Laurie R. King, and the combination of Sherlock and Mary Russell and cats came up, and so Laurie R. King referenced Clea to my blog where I had a post talking about the tattoos that I have featuring portraits of cats posing as Sherlock and Mary Russell. This book is inspired by Sherlock Holmes and Mary Russell, but the character that is inspired by Sherlock is basically a Sherlockian character reimagined as a cat. So I was super excited to try this one, and I got this copy sent to me by the author with a lovely inscription and autograph, and I am so excited about it. I read the first chapter and I'm definitely really pulled in. It kind of starts in medias res, so there's this kitty who's like in a river trying to keep its head above water, and it gets rescued and it doesn't know what's going on, and it was a really good start to a book, I think, and I really want to continue on and see what's going to happen. So this one is also going to have to get added to my TBR very soon. Then the last two books, which of course I also loved, are the ones that I actually decided to try to fit into my June TBR. The first of which is the Penelope Ad by Margaret Atwood, and this one I've actually already completed, and spoiler, I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. This is a retelling of the Odyssey, but from Penelope's perspective. She is telling this book from beyond the grave. She has died. It's been several thousand years. She's basically writing it in current times, and she's just looking back and telling the story from her perspective, because at this point she doesn't really care what the general public thinks, and she's kind of tired as being thought of as this eternally loyal and faithful wife, when perhaps she should not have let Odysseus get away with as much as she did. So this was a really good read. The voice of Penelope in this is really fun, and it's a really short read. You can see it's pretty thin and the margins are pretty big, so this one definitely did not take very long to read, and I highly recommend it. It was my first Margaret Atwood read, and I've been hearing so much about Margaret Atwood and how so many people love her, so this was a very good way to start off my Margaret Atwood experience. And the final book is the one that I'm currently reading, and one that I'm actually doing a buddy read on with Nicole from Dorka Brain, and it's Perfume by Patrick Suskind. And this is a horror novel. It is very weird and very creepy, and it's the story of this guy who has no smell but becomes fascinated with the smells of others and starts murdering people to create perfume out of their smells. I'm actually not very far into this one. I think Nicole is quite a bit farther ahead of me at this point, so hopefully I will catch up soon, but it definitely has a very creepy tone, a lot of really gross descriptions of smells, but in a sort of fascinating way. Yeah, so I really am looking forward to continuing on with this one, and I definitely want to watch the movie afterwards, because everyone tells me that you should do that after you read this book, because it's apparently a really good movie. And I had actually never heard of either the book or the movie until a few months ago when I saw Bookish Nerd talking about this in one of her videos, so I am definitely looking forward to continuing on with this and seeing what Nicole thinks of it as well, and I have a feeling that we will probably both be very fascinated and creeped out along the way. So that wraps up the tag portion of this video. Then just to do a quick update, like I said, my current read right now is Perfume, so I'm going to try and wrap that one up over the course of the week, so it will be my final June read. Then, as I also mentioned earlier, my family came up to visit this last week, which was very exciting, and is partly why I didn't end up putting up my Wednesday or Friday videos. I just didn't end up having time, but we had a really fun visit. They all stayed here. It was my mom, my dad, my brother, and my niece, Ray Ray, who you might remember from a video that I did back in December, I believe, where we both talked about our favorite childhood books. We did a bit of exploring and shopping and just generally hanging out, and it was very fun. I did end up buying a few really cool things, which I must clearly share with you all. First is the earrings that I'm wearing at the moment, and as you can see, they are stained glass bat wings, but I actually thought that they also looked a bit like dragon wings. It's kind of hard to tell in this light, but they're actually purple glass, and I have the card here somewhere. Yeah, so it's by the Glazieri, and I'll put a link to their website down below if you want to check them out. They had some really cool stuff like stained glass crowns and bracelets and little boxes and stuff, just all kinds of really cool stuff. So I highly recommend checking them out. I would love to buy quite a few more things from them. Then we actually made a random trip to Goodwill because it ended up being a bit chillier than we had expected. So my brother had only packed shorts and wanted long pants for when we were going to be walking around exploring, and he found this sign which I had to buy because it's amazing. Yeah, if this is not the most perfect sign you've ever seen, I just can't imagine what would be. I don't know where exactly I'm going to put it. I don't know if it'll go in my office here or if I'm going to bring it to work or what, but I was very excited about that. And I also got a package in the mail. So if you don't already know Chris, I believe her channel used to be Christopher's Book Nook and is now A Stitch in Time, but you should check her out either way, and I'll put links to her channel down below. So Chris from A Stitch in Time and I were talking, and we both really like coffees and teas, and we decided to do a little coffee swap thing. So we sent each other a box of some of our favorite hot beverages and little goodies. And my package from Chris arrived this weekend, so I was really excited about it. She sent me 2 kinds of teas and 1 bag of coffee, which all seem really great. I've already tried one of the teas and it was fantastic. It was a Earl Grey cream tea, and yeah, I love me some Earl Grey, and that was some really good Earl Grey. I haven't tried the other 2 yet, but I'm really looking forward to it because I'm sure they're fantastic. So those are all downstairs, but I have 2 things that I want to share. So first, she sent me this bookmark, which is amazing. Grumpy Cat, and it says, if you're happy and you know it, shut up, which I really enjoy. I have a Grumpy Cat mug that says, do I look like I rise and shine? And it's one of my favorite mugs, so this is like my official bookmark to use on Mondays now, I think, because it's pretty perfect. But I saved the best thing for last, and that is this. That is a little felted Mosa kitty. And Chris made this. Like, actually made this. Look, it's even got the little bit of color that goes down to her nose and her stripies, and the one arm that's white and the one that's got the gray down to the almost down to her paw. It's so perfect and cute, and I love it. So yes, this is like my new favorite, most perfect thing ever. I've been keeping it up on this shelf, but over on the far side where I keep my Night Runner books, because Chris and I have bonded over our love of Night Runner. And I also have a little coffee candle that's called Cappuccino, and I thought that just seemed really appropriate. So that is the new home for this little Mosa kitty, but I had to take a moment to share this all with you because so awesome. Oh, and also, speaking of Mosa Kitty, I almost forgot, one other thing that happened when my family was here is that my dad helped me install some kitty shelves that I've been wanting to have. It's nothing too outrageous, but Mosa really likes to get on top of these bookshelves behind me. She will usually start here and then just launch herself up to the top, which is a pretty big jump, and she makes it, but she kind of has to scramble a little bit to get herself all the way up. So there is now a shelf just to the side of the bookshelf, which is sort of a halfway jump, and at the end of the shelves is a door, and on the other side of the door there is this tall built-in armoire thing. So Mosa likes to jump from the bookshelf to the armoire, but she is usually too afraid to jump back because the bookshelf is more narrow. So there's now a shelf that goes all the way across the door and is kind of a bridge for her to walk back and forth. So now she can traverse the full length of this side of the room, and I think she is pretty happy about it. And then the last thing that I want to leave you guys on is a quick update on my Kickstarter. I am really close to meeting the first stretch goal, which is 3,500. I'm currently just below 3,200, which is just outrageous, and I don't even know what to do about it. But yeah, so I am just a few hundred short of the first stretch goal. I have been doing some research on boxes. I have a second stretch goal that is quite a bit higher, and that's 6,500. I know for sure if I reach that, I will be able to get the custom boxes made. I am trying to do some calculations and budgeting and such to see if I'll be able to make the custom boxes work if I can at least hit the first stretch goal, so we will see. But either way, hitting that first stretch goal will give me a little extra to be able to make prettier packaging and boxes and just a better overall unboxing experience, which is always nice. So I will put links to the Kickstarter and stuff down below. If you haven't already checked that out, or if you know people who might be interested, please spread it around. I would really love to get those custom boxes made, because how cute would it be to have the little book and a bath and stuff on the box? Pretty cute. Yeah, so either way though, I am just ecstatic about how well the Kickstarter has been going. It still has about 2.5 weeks left on it, so plenty of time to at least hit that first stretch goal, and yeah, much excitement. So that wraps up my Try a Chapter tag and a bunch of rambling updates, so thank you for sticking around and listening to it if you did, and if you didn't, I understand. Alright, thanks guys for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. I hope everybody's week is getting off to a good start, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!